Hi family, happy Easter. I hope you all had a great time celebrating the resurrection of Jesus. And yeah, this week for announcements, we have a Revive Zoom meeting this Saturday, so April 10th at 2 p.m. All the login information is the same as every week, and it will also be sent in the email as well. And yeah, this week we'll be wrapping up our Devo series of Rhythms of Grace, and then we will be starting a new one, which is really exciting, that we're really excited for the next Devo. So just as a quick overview of our Rhythm of Grace series, Pastor Lauren started off our series talking about rhythms and cycles of sin and how we break that in order to step into more freedom and more grace. Then Derek led us into the purpose of Lent and how Lent is more about just a heart's position and how we can add a rhythm or give something up during our Lenten journey in order to just turn our attention more towards God and just realign our hearts with His. Then Michael shared about how he's been doing the rhythm of solitude on his morning walks and how that's really centered him during this time and really positioned his heart. And then finally, our last Devo was by Lindsay, and she led us through abiding with God and how it's more about being with God and being present with Him than doing the action itself. So as we wrap up this series, I think one of the main things we really thought about was how this wasn't supposed to be about doing something, but more about the heart and the meaning behind it. So for our last Devo, I kind of want to spend some time thinking about the bigger picture of what this looks like. And again, thinking about the heart's position, not necessarily the action itself. So I kind of want to distinguish something first, and that's having a more action-driven approach versus a more purpose-driven approach. So an example of this might be an action-driven approach is like, I want to lose an X amount of pounds or of weight. And a purpose-driven approach would more be like, I want to live a healthier life. So the action-driven approach is more so focusing on the action itself, about losing the pounds or that numeric weight or whatever. And the purpose-driven is more so based on the heart or the motivation behind it. So if I want to live a healthier lifestyle, then I'm going to pick actions that would support that idea. So things like exercise more, eat healthier, I'll sleep more, and just take better care of my body. So it creates the motivation for changing of the lifestyle, not just the actions, but the heart and the meaning behind it. So the big question I have for this week is, who is God creating you to be? And I want us to look at Isaiah 64:8, and it says, "Yet you, Lord, are our Father. We are the clay, you are the potter. We are all the work of your hand." So God created you for a specific purpose, and I love this imagery of just a potter and clay, and it's a very involved process, right? A potter just can't look at a block of clay and then poof, there's a vase, or poof, there's a bowl, but it's something that they have to really think about and intentionally put in effort into. They have to mold it, they have to create it, and it's a messy process. Like, you're gonna get your hands dirty during it. And even when you think about it, nothing comes out the same as your work. Even though you create very similar bowls or use the same technique, they're always going to be different. In the same way, God has intentionally created you for a purpose, and He's continuing to mold you and creating you into the person He is calling you to be. It's a continual process of molding and growing and shaping and changing, and so it's an involved process, right? It's not something we could do alone, but it's something that we have to involve God in. So I ask another question, and that is, what kind of person do you want to be? And I really believe that when those two questions, when those answers align, is really where we find motivation and where we find purpose. Proverbs 19:21 says, "Many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails." And I think it's interesting here again that we have this distinction between plan and purpose. And we could plan all we want, we could create all the plans for our life, but it's only when our hearts align with God's and where His purpose and our purpose come together, and when we align with that and we create actions based on that, is when we can truly make actions that will really benefit us and change us. And yeah, it's really when those actions come from that motivation and that purpose of who God is creating us to be and who we want to be. So as we, kind of wrap up our Lenten journey, let's think about, what kind of person you want to be moving on in the future and what traits have you developed. And so, maybe it's something like, I just want to be a more giving person, or I want to be more intentional with my time. I want to be a person that always puts relationships first. And so those are the kind of things that are the motivations behind the actions you were doing. You might change what that may look like, right? It might not be the same as, I'm spending once a week doing this, or I'm spending, I'm making sure that I reach out to this person, so like X amount of time, but it's still that motivation that's behind it that can now transform, and it may look different, but the motivation behind it's still the same, and it could still transform and work with us in that way. So I thought it'd be a kind of fun exercise this week to do kind of like an art project. And so if you remember, Flat Stanley will be doing something similar. And so if you look at your handout, we'll have an outline of a person. And so I really just want you to reflect on those first two questions, which is, who is God calling you to be, and what kind of person do you want to be? And so as you reflect on that, as things come up, just kind of draw or color in what those things represent on your outline of yourself. And so, if it's something like, I want to build more of God's kingdom, maybe you'll draw a hammer, or, maybe for you it's more like the color of blue or something, so you'll color yourself a little bit more blue. And so just have fun with it. I just kind of wanted it to be kind of like a colorful representation of what kind of person that God's creating you to be, and how, even in a way it kind of symbolizes and kind of reminds you of that. So for a similar but not quite exact example, back in 2011, so 10 years ago, in my English class, my English teacher kind of tasked us with this art project of asking us, what were our dreams, what were our goals in life, and what kind of person did we want to be. And we were tasked with this, and we were supposed to come up with 10 things and kind of create a collage of that. So I have it still, throwback, but this is what it looks like. It was 10 years ago, but please have grace on me. But I have all my statements written back here, and I kept this in my room for a really long time, just hanging on the wall, because it always reminded me of, what kind of person I wanted to be. And really just whenever things came up in my life, I would have to just, I find myself just going back to this and reminding myself, okay, is it one of my almost like value statements of, does that align with what I want to do, what I want to be? And so I'll share a couple of them. So this light path here is supposed to represent, wanting to be a light to my community and to the people around me. So this is supposed to be a serving platter. So I wanted to be a person that serves my community and serves the people around me, and that and even it's supposed to be with the world, so serving the world as well. The hands right here are supposed to represent just wanting to be a good friend and being there for people, and to really walk alongside people. The scale, which I wanted to represent as, treating people equally and fairly. And then the wings, I just really wanted to witness some miracles, and so I put that in there because I just wanted to live a life that would just be an exciting life of just witnessing what God can do and be able to just experience that with him. And so I thought it would be a really fun exercise for us to do something similar, with reflecting on our own selves and creating kind of like a visual representation of what we want to be. And so even reflecting and looking back on this, I think in a lot of ways my goals and what I want to be and my values are still the same. And even it's cool to see how I've grown since then. Like 10 years ago, I've never witnessed, I would say, a miracle, but now I could say that I've seen God work in so many miraculous ways. So I think it's really cool to see how, I've grown and I've changed over the past years, but in the same way, these still ring true to me. And so I think that in a way has kind of shown me again that this is more a purpose-driven sort of exercise than an action-driven exercise. And so I really encourage you to do it and to kind of cut it out and put it somewhere that you may see, or it might remind you of just who you are and who you want to be. Yeah, so I encourage you just to have fun with it and just have a really good time. I'll also put in some songs in the handout as well that I've been really reflecting on and have, I think, go really well with sort of this exercise. I hope you guys have fun doing it. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and we hope to see you this Saturday at 2 p.m. for our Revive Zoom meeting. And I hope you all had a great Easter, and we will see you then.